Let me ask you something. How much of your life is really calm and how much of your life is just managed anxiety? Because most people don't live with peace of mind. They live with a backup plan. They live with like a just in case kind of idea. And what they would want to call that is Bitachon. But in reality, it's really not Bitachon. And here's the wild truth. You can be a believer in Hashem, a real good Jew. You can daven every single day. You can learn Torah every day and still be living like everything in this world depends on you. And that tension, that quiet pressure that builds up in your chest, that constant juggling of things that's going on, that's exactly what Shaar HaBitachon over here in chapter 1 comes to dismantle. Because Rabbeinu Bachya opens Shaar HaBitachon with a shocking claim. Bitachon is not a feeling. It's not optimism. It's not religious positivity. Bitachon is a way of seeing reality. And if you get chapter 1 wrong, then everything becomes more just religious fluff. It's nothing. And let me tell you this. If you truly had Bitachon, not talked about it because you watch a shiur every day, not quoted it, or not liking posts on Instagram and on YouTube statuses, if you actually had Bitachon, your stress would be different, your decision making would be different, your relationships would be different, your parenting would be different, your sleep would be different. So here's the question that nobody wants to ask. If Bitachon is real, why are so many people so darn exhausted? Chapter 1 doesn't start with faith. It starts with clarity. Rabbeinu Bachya says that before we talk about trusting Hashem, we need to ask a deeper question. Who are you trusting right now without realizing it? Who? Your job, your boss, your Rolodex, your connections, your brain, your smarts, your hustle, your backup plan? Because whatever you believe is keeping you safe, that is where your Bitachon actually lives. And here's the most uncomfortable part of it all. You don't choose your Bitachon with your mouth. It's not lip service. You choose it with who you fear. And let me give you something over here for a few seconds. So you worry about what you think you control. That's what you worry about because you think you control it. You worry about what you think you control. You don't panic about things you truly hand over. You panic about things you secretly believe are on you to handle. And chapter 1 comes to expose that illusion. Because Rabbeinu Bachya makes something very clear right away, right out the gate. He makes something clear. Bitachon is not ignoring reality. We live in reality. It's understanding reality correctly. Hashem is not helping you. He's not partnering with you. Hashem is doing his part while you do your part. Hashem runs everything. And your effort that you do, that's not the cause that makes things happen. That's the commandment that Hashem gave you. In chapter 1, over here we're going to learn that you need to do your job. And now here's another thing. If effort actually caused results, then the most stressed people would be the most successful people. But look around you. That's nowhere close to what the truth is. Some people kill themselves and barely scraping by, and others are just calm, and doors just open up. Same world, same economy, same challenges, everything's the same. Two different people. Different understanding of who runs the show. That's the difference between two individuals. Chapter 1 is not here to make you spiritual. It's here to keep you honest. Honest about why are you anxious, why are you afraid, why you're overthinking everything, and why letting go feels irresponsible, because in a sense it does. Because letting go does feel irresponsible only when you think you're holding it all together. And here's the biggest truth of it all. Bitachon is not a passive thing. It's not like, oh, I can be lazy, and it's definitely not being naive. It's actually the bravest mindset a human being can adapt to. Why? Because it means that accepting one terrifying truth, you were never in control and yet you are completely taken care of. And that paradox alone is what chapter 1 introduces. And if you don't sit with it, the rest of Shaar HaBitachon won't land right. So, before we talk about levels of trust, which we're going to learn towards the end, or outcomes, or blessings, or calm, chapter 1 over here asks one question. Who are you relying on really? Not in theory, not in speeches, not in WhatsApp statuses because you share the post, but in the moment where your stomach just tightens, in the moments where you can't sleep, in the moments where you feel like if I don't do this, I'll fall apart. That's where your Bitachon lives. And that's the gate we're about to walk through. That is what Shaar HaBitachon is. Now I want to tell you something. I'm not here because I mastered Bitachon. I've worried just like everybody else. I thought I control all my outcomes just like everybody else. That's not what it's about. But I will tell you what this is about. I'm Ravav, and this is Shaar HaBitachon. All right. Good morning, everyone. And thank you so much for joining us all here today. Today's shir should be Le'ilu Nishmas, our dear friend Menachem ben Yisrael Yaakov, as well as my dear aunt Rivka Bas Gabriel Tzvi, and for Zaidi, Reb Shmuel ben Yosef Dova Cohen, B'schos l'refuah shalema b'karov Meshalom ben Sarachal, and Miriam Bas Zara. Today, we are at the very beginning of round 4 of Shaar HaBitachon on this platform. And we are going to talk about high level, what Bitachon is about, starting all over again, getting more accustomed to it, getting more familiar with Bitachon. And if we thought we were already on a certain level of Bitachon, like what we ended off at the end of last round, we're getting to even higher levels this time around. The goal over here is, in the repeat, is to get better at it, more fluent with it, and that life really is easier because you are better at being a Baal Bitachon. That is the overall concept and why we're here, why we're doing this every single day. Let's start and let's get right into it. I'm going to paraphrase a little bit because we are doing the Ora Vigdor, and we are on page 1, and I'm going to paraphrase some of the components over here because I love the way Rabbi Victor Miller writes in his speeches and stuff like that. And I want you to understand really, really, really well. And that's my goal this time around, is to cement it even deeper into you guys, the whole concept. And I really, my bracha to you guys is that internalizing it, right? And we keep talking about that. And we have internalized that, but to internalize it even deeper is what I'm looking at. Okay. Bitachon Elokim Yizbarach, regarding trust in Hashem. V'zeh Pesach Hashar, and let us now begin this introduction to this Shar. Now I want you to understand something. Shaar HaBitachon is the 4th gate within Chovos HaLevavos, the 4th Shar. It follows that of Shar Avodas Elokim, which is how to be an Eved Hashem. And that's important to understand because you're going to see over here in a minute, there's a reason why Bitachon follows Avodas Elokim, which is being an Eved Hashem, and how to do that. We explained in the previous Shar, which is Shar Avodas Elokim, the obligation, Kabbalas Avodas Elokim, of taking upon ourselves the service of Hashem. The obligation of being a good employee, being a good Eved of Hashem. Ra'isi lahavi achrav mashu tzarich yoseh mikol advarim lo'eved elokim yizbarach. Therefore, I found it fit, I see it fit, that what the best possible way in order to follow Shaar Avodas Elokim is v'hu ha'bitachon olav b'chol davarav. And this is for the person to have trust in Hashem in every single affair. Rabbi Victor Miller says it's very interesting because when you finish something, let's say you learned how to do something, right? The first thing you wanting to do is roll up your sleeves and get out there and do it. That's what you want to do. And Rabbeinu Bachya stops us. He says, there's no physical action that I want you to do right now. What I want you to do, the first thing is Bitachon, which is a duty of the mind. That's not a physical duty. It's not something that we're doing ourselves. Bitachon, I want you to learn how to trust in Hashem. And that's very interesting, again, because we're looking for an action item. We want to get out there. We want to do stuff. Very, very important to understand. And why Rabbeinu Bachya puts this first is because we need to understand before we get into Bitachon. And if we don't understand these two core principles, then what's going to happen is you're going to basically skim over the next 420 pages and not cement in what we're trying to learn. The two core principles you need to understand in Bitachon is, number one, is that Hashem is the choreographer of every single movement on this world. There is nothing that happens on this world without Hashem's explicit permission. That's the first, what you need to understand. The first core value. The second of the two core values is Hashem is doing everything out of love for this world, out of love for his creations, out of love for you. That's why Hashem does this. So remember, Hashem orchestrates everything. Hashem orchestrates everything because he loves you. Those are the two core principles you need to remember throughout Shaar HaBitachon, no matter what we're going to learn. And we're going to get off on tangents in here. And we're going to learn how to do certain things and how to react to certain things. But you have to always remember, top of mind, Hashem does everything and Hashem loves you. Those are the two things. Now, Rabbi Victor Miller says that everything you do needs to have Bitachon, including your job, your relationships, your parenting, your health. Everything that you do requires Bitachon. Now, in the beginning, when we daven every single day, there's a tefillah that we daven for. What are we davening for? We're davening for certain outcomes. But when we start, we say Hashem, before Shemona Esrei, we say Hashem sefosei tiftach afi yagid yilusecha. What does that mean? Hashem, open my lips so that my mouth may declare your praise. Basically, what you're trying to say, Hashem, I'm going to ask you for something, and I'm asking you, Hashem, that whatever I ask for, that it works for me, that it's for my benefit. That's what I'm asking you for. Because a lot of times, we daven for stuff, and Hashem knows better than to give you whatever you're davening for, because you think that's going to be a benefit to you, but quite the opposite, those things might be detrimental to you. And therefore, we need to understand that even though tefillah is a big part of being a Jew, a big part of even emunah and bitachon is tefillah, but we need to understand that the way our minds think is not the way Hashem runs this world necessarily. So we need to remember that when we daven for something that we really, really want and we yearn for, we need to understand that if Hashem doesn't give it to us, it's not because he doesn't want to give it to you. It's because it's not in your best interest to have that particular thing that you are davening for. So you need to understand that. Now, going further, we need to understand this concept as well. Sorry, I lost my place over here. Before we finish out over here, Rabbeinu Bachya says, "Bavu mashi yesh boy min hatay ilios hagdoles beinyan haTorah ubeinyan olam." We need to give special attention to the study of Bitachon because it brings a great benefit in both Torah, in spiritual matters, and worldly matters, in Gashmias. Now, we're going to continue this tomorrow, but I want you to understand that there's two parts to Bitachon. There's the spiritual part, and then there's the worldly part. At the end of the day, what we're going to look to do is combine the two to make it so that there's only one real big goal over here. But we need to understand that we live in a materialistic world. And we need to learn how to go about our day-to-day in this materialistic world. Because Bitachon is teaching us that there is a higher power, that we need to trust in Hashem, that everything has a reason. But we need to do all that while we are operating within a physical, gashmiistic, a world that's materialistic. That's what we have to work with. And in Mitzvah Hashem, tomorrow, we're going to continue this introduction so that we can better understand what we're going to work towards, so we can better understand the 420 some odd pages that follow this introduction. Thank you, everyone, for joining us all here today on the first day of round number 4 of Shaar HaBitachon. And I really, 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 really hope that you all continue to grow just as I have in the last 3 rounds. Thank you, and have an amazing day.